Next, we have Christophe from Red Hat. Red Hat's always done a lot of really good work in this space. Over the years, in the developer platform space, I've always been really impressed with the tools that they've put out. They've always been really comprehensive and forward-looking, so I'm looking forward to what Red Hat is doing with Backstage. So with that, Christophe. Oh. Go, buddy.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. And I hope that everyone is enjoying their day. That's really a great event. So I'm Christophe Fargette, architect at Red Hat. I've been working on Backstage for the last 2 years. I don't have a slide describing Red Hat, so you can ask a question later on the Slido. But like Brandon said, we are doing lots of different things in terms of security, Linux, the cloud, and also for developers, Podman, and lots of CLIs, plugins for Visual Studio Code and Eclipse. So we are also involved with Backstage. So today, this is the 4 main areas I'm going to focus on. And I will start with the learnings from our customers that will give you some context for the next point. So over the last year, the product manager and myself talked to over 100 customers, like worldwide customers in different industries. And this is kind of like the main points that are coming up for them. So one is the golden templates that will be, actually I have a typo, that should be GPTs. They are not powerful enough. So they are, you can create a repo, add some code, or you can create a pull request. But what they need, for example, is how they can do a rollback, like a step fails, how they can recover from that, how to resume it, how to undo maybe the previous steps, how to add approvals, like usually you have to do with some kind of like ServiceNow and approve or reject. Then the next point is how they can customize their Backstage without having to do any code changes. With Backstage, you can do pretty much everything, but every time you have to do like some code change. So either adding a plugin, doing the branding, updating like anything, the homepage, and then you will have to rebuild and redeploy your instance of Backstage. So once you are running this in production for a bit, you realize that it's quite overwhelming. The next one is who owns this new platform? Maybe for your organization, that's straightforward. For larger organizations, it's a bit harder. Is that like DevOps, a team of 3 that we heard earlier, or even like engineers, like hundreds of engineers? Maybe it's a new team. So this is kind of like a big question. No RBAC, so that's it. Out of the box by default. This is like a big problem for enterprises. And then the next one is JavaScript. This was mentioned a few times today, or TypeScript. Enterprises usually, or large ones, will be more Java Shop, .NET. They know JavaScript, but that would be to do just UI with React and Angular, not necessarily the things that you will do in Backstage and APIs and other things. So this is a problem. And then the learning curve. Backstage is great. You can do quite a lot, but where do you start? Do you start with plugins, templates, maybe tech docs? So they need someone to kind of coach them. So now for Backstage, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I would say everybody knows Backstage, or at least all the customers I've been talking to. They've been mostly doing already POCs with that, and I would say that just is standard. I don't have to explain really what is Backstage. No, not this year, at least. Maybe before. Personally, I've been in the IDP or building custom IDPs for the last 6 years, and I've tried everything. ServiceNow, module federations, and like macro frontend frameworks, and I would say use Backstage. That will save you lots of time. One of the best features is plugins. That's how you can extend the platform. So you saw many screenshots today of the different platforms. you can just add pretty much anything that you need for your developers. Just add a new plugin. That's fairly straightforward, easy to create. TechDocs also is great for at least for the IT organizations. Everybody knows Git, everybody knows TechDocs. So this is great, like always up to date, lives with the code. And this was mentioned earlier too, Backstage has a very large and active community. So this makes a huge difference. They have a Discord server. If you are not on it, you should probably just be a member. You can see lots of good stuff there, getting some help. They also have SIG events almost weekly, so you can learn what's coming up, like the roadmap or different things. You probably can see a few of us participating to those events. They are virtuals. And there is also BackstageCon. So they started last year, a conference just for Backstage. Last year was the first one, and they are doing another one next month with KubeCon. So I hope you have the chance to go there. That's also a great event. Now for Backstage, the bad. Like I said earlier, every time you want to do an update for Backstage, can be just updating a plugin. Then you have to always rebuild the code, deploy it. If you are a large organization, most likely you have several environments, like testing environments, maybe load testing, etc. So it takes a while. And maybe by the time you even get to production, there is the new version of Backstage that is already out. So you have to keep always building. And then the plugin versions and the Backstage versions, nobody is really keeping track. So Backstage is versions, the plugins are versions, but you don't really have a list somewhere of which plugins works with which version of Backstage. So everybody has to do kind of that work. Like I said earlier, from the customers, you don't have any airbag out of the box. So this is something I'm going to discuss a bit later. And now for the ugly, so that it works, but that could be improved. Backstage is releasing a new version every 3-4 weeks each, and that's good. It's really fast. You get new features, new bug fixes, like very frequently. But also on the other side, it may be too frequent for some enterprises. So it's hard to keep up to date. And we kind of quickly mentioned earlier also the plugins sometimes are not always up to date, or you have like breaking changes from one version to another. So it can take lots of patience and for the team to update to the latest version. And working with the community can be a slow process. So when I'm in the community, that would be with the upstream project. So if you want to alter an existing functionality or even add a major feature, then you have to write an RFC on the GitHub issues, and then that has to be approved. Someone will have to work on it. Maybe it's you working on that feature. Then that will be also merged, and then you will have to wait for the next release. So if you really want to have something quick, that's not going to happen. This is a long process, and we are experiencing that. So you need an alternative approach for this. I'm not saying you have to bypass it. You have to continue to do that with upstream, but maybe you need something intermediate that you can move quicker. So talking about an alternative approach, that's where I want to talk about the Genus community. So that's something we created at Red Hat. So that's an open source community. And we provide a few things there. So we provide a portal which is based on Backstage, but instead of you to create your own Backstage and always do the same thing, you add a couple of plugins, like a homepage, health checks, maybe like a new Docker file. Everybody repeats over and over the same things when you start a new Backstage portal. So there we kind of preload everything. Everything will be already there. We keep Backstage updated. So every time you take the latest, that will be working with the latest version of Backstage. And we preload with over 30 plugins. So everything for Azure DevOps, Jenkins, Jira, Snyk, or all the major plugins will be already part of it. Then we also provide 15 plugins that are listed on the page, the plugins page on the Backstage.io website. We have also 4 custom actions. This is also another great way to extend Backstage. You can create like some actions that would be used from your templates. And also we provide some extra features to be able to customize your Backstage instance without having to build it and redeploy. So for example, updating your homepage, updating the information from TechRadar, even the branding. So that's also something we've seen that everybody wants to update their branding to their own colors for the company. So you can change the primary color, like the logos and a few other things. And then also the templates we provide, I think it's about a dozen of templates that would just be like a guide to you, so you can get started quicker. So different technologies, and not only to start a new project, a new source code, but that would be also how to do day-to operations. So for example, migrating an application to the cloud or switching from Jenkins to GitLab CI, a few other things. And here is kind of a screenshot, that's just a homepage, but you can see the links if you are interested. The genusidp.io community website, also the GitHub. If you go to the website, you will find everything there. We have a YouTube channel. We have a bi-weekly call. The calendar also of the sessions is on that website. So feel free to have a look. And next is now what we do at Red Hat with Backstage. So last year at BackstageCon, we announced a collaboration with the Spotify team on our Backstage. And since then, it's been an amazing year. We've been doing lots of contributions to Backstage and also within Red Hat. So here are a few points. We're working with the Backstage team on the declarative integration, or we call it the dynamic plugins. So that will be a way for you to add plugins or manage plugins, not just to add them, but update them and delete them, both front-end and back-end plugins to your instance without having to touch the code and rebuild and redeploy. So this is coming. The back-end plugins are kind of working now, and then the front-end, we're still working for things to be finalized from the Spotify team, but that's in pretty good progress. So. The other one, we are working on RBAC, so we have also RBAC out of the box. So if you are using our version of Backstage, then all the security will be available. And we also have localization that is a requirement for some of our customers. And earlier I was mentioning that the templates or the golden path templates were not necessarily powerful enough. So we have something that we're currently working on that we call Orchestrator, and that will be a way to add extra features to it. So you will be able to do approvals, for example, or even like parallel flows to do things in parallel, better your messages and other things. And we provide also enterprise support. So it's not just your team being alone using open source Backstage, and then you're on your own to support it. We are here to help. And we have a lot more. So if you are using the Helm charts from Backstage, or even the one for Genus, two out of the three main maintainers on the Helm charts are from Red Hat. We are doing lots of contributions upstream, so adding new features, obviously bug fixing. We're also working on the React 18 upgrade, lots of improvements in the documentation and all the different things that I've mentioned earlier. And also we're sponsoring the BackstageCon next month. And if you can see there that it's all things that you can do. Nothing really too hard. You can just go on their GitHub and find some issues and just send a pull request, and they will just merge it, or just any help, even just raising an issue, it's already contributing to the community. So nothing too fancy there. And then I think this is my last slide. So this one is a shameless plug. I'm just talking about the Red Hat Developer Hub. Looks familiar. That's based on Backstage. So this is the Red Hat offering that we announced earlier this year in May. And you can see a few things. So you can, for example, the main picture will be the list of clusters. You can manage your clusters from there. See the quotas or the usage. If you have any upgrades available, stuff like that. We all the templates, and also we have I'm not showing everything that we have in it, but just took a couple of screenshots. The other one is the topology. So if some of you are OpenShift users, then that's a view that you are familiar with. It's just a way of showing all the different applications, microservices, or even like ingress services, all the things that you have in Kubernetes in a nice way, except that this is not working for OpenShift only. That would be for any Kubernetes. So, and then I have a couple of metrics from the left side. So that's just an average of different teams who've been onboarding existing applications to the cloud, or even just starting an application from scratch and going to production. And you can see that the times have been reduced from several days or like weeks to just minutes or a couple of days. So it's massive saving in terms of times and money for the company. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Christophe. I think that was a great presentation. So we have a lot of engagement on Slido, and some questions are really upvoted, but I want to go in chronological order because I think there's like a little bit of sequencing to them. So the first one we have is, so you talked about Janus. Is this packaged with community or the plugins built by Red Hat?
So we do have plugins. Like most of them have been created by Red Hat, but they're open source. Anybody can use them. That would be mostly for Red Hat products for better integrations. But otherwise, we have also customers where they don't really have a place where they can put their plugins for Backstage. So they just contribute to our community.
OK, so then I'll ask the related question to this. So what about the dynamic plugins capability? Are you planning to contribute back to open source Backstage?
Absolutely, yes. So this is not something we want to do custom. Otherwise, every company could do their own implementation, and then you will have one plugin, but you have 5 versions of the plugin for integrating with one or the other Backstage. So no, this we work with upstream. So that's why there is the declarative integration. That's a way that Spotify actually owns in terms of specifications. The implementation could be different, but we want to make sure that there is only one type of dynamic plugins. So currently, we will have the only implementation of it, but if in the future it's any other providers are also supporting this, the same plugin will work anywhere. Yeah.
OK, so there continues to be a lot of interest around plugins. So then I'll ask a specific question on the RBAC plugin. So the RBAC plugin that you talked about, is that custom or is that the RBAC Backstage plugin, or the Spotify one?
So it's based on the permission framework. So we are still using what Backstage is providing. We don't reinvent the wheel. We're using what they already provide. But after that, the plugin itself or RBAC will be custom, where it's not based on the RBAC plugin from Spotify that we saw from Joe earlier.
All right. OK. And then what are you doing to get past the need to restart Backstage when you load in new plugins?
Yes. So the goal is that you can, I'm going to say drag and drop. It's not necessarily drag and drop because it's not like with a GUI, but it's basically you just can install a plugin that way. So based on the YAML file, the description, especially if it's for a front-end plugin, you will be able to tell where the plugin will appear. So on the sign of or like a specific tab and like different actions, and then the plugin will be available. So you don't have to do the npm and like one line of code or like a couple of lines of code. You will be able to save that.
All right. And can you talk a little bit more about the added functionality that the orchestrator adds to the software template?
Yes. So, for example, that's to detect if a step has been previously working. So I'm just going to use an example. For example, you have first step, you create a repo. Second step, you add some code or some files. And then it fails because the template has a typo. So now if you try to rerun that template, that's going to fail because the repo already exists. So it's just going to be able to detect that if the repo exists, we use it, or maybe you have to kind of do something else. Also to have better error messages, because currently it's very technical when you see those messages. So sometimes people who don't know Backstage or necessarily the templates, that's not very helpful. So we'll fix that. to be able to run 2 steps at the same time, just to even improve the performance. Sometimes we can parallelize like some work, and or adding approvals. And that's also a request that lots of our customers are asking, how we can integrate with ServiceNow, or we are not replacing ServiceNow, it's just to integrate with other solutions that you will be using.
All right, that's interesting. And okay, so I think this is the last one that we have on Slido is, are you integrating Janus in your other service lifecycle orchestration? And I think then you just kind of mentioned that a little with ServiceNow, but like if you want to elaborate a little bit more, that if you're going beyond that.
Yeah, so I mean, this will be that will be open after with like the customers. Obviously, all the needs are always different. So for now, the most demand is for ServiceNow, so that's where we are focusing on. If we do get requests for something else, then we'll definitively work on it. Red Hat is actually investing a lot in Backstage, so we can probably do a lot. It's just we don't want to spend our time on the wrong thing.
Yeah. So no, and I think this is like the most interesting and unique implementation of Backstage that we have seen today. So we do have one related question on that. So what are the plans for Red Hat? How are you looking at Janus? Are you planning to set it as standalone or bundled with tools, or it can like OpenShift? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So currently it's a standalone app, so you can use it on-prem. After that, we are still working with like the sales team and a few other things to see what we can do. But obviously, that could be packaged with other services if you are like a Red Hat customer. So.
Right. Okay. So still plans in work. Righty. I think that I'll just do one last refresh. But those are all the questions we have today. Thank you, Christophe, for joining us. I'll just take the clicker from you and this. Thank you. All righty. Thank you. All right, so now we'll head into a break, and this is a bit of a longer break. So we do have coffee and snacks for you all back in the gallery, and a great opportunity for you all to continue the conversation and ask speakers some questions if you feel they were unanswered. And we'll be returning back at 3 for a session with AWS.